Okay, good morning traders and welcome to Trade the Structure and the morning jumpstart for the US session. We'll just do a bit of a recap of overnight action and we'll look at our key charts. We've got a few of them to get through. We'll start off with the ASX 200. Excuse me. We can see that that's starting to pop up. I like this as a measured move. Okay, so we've got a bit of a measured move. So you've got a bit of a base that built before we had that expansionary phase. We pushed up through 71.52. So I think the bulk of that was yesterday. Powered up to 71.93 before we chopped around, and it just popped up through there into the US close. Now, if that's a measured move up, then you take it from that low 71.52, and it's going to take us to 72.62. But we'll have to see how that plays out. I want to see if we can get a bit of a pullback. If a pullback sticks, it could just jam straight up through these, these levels, 93.17 and right into that 72.62. Easy enough today. It could even extend that level. You never just, sell in there. You just want to see some weakness start to come in there before you want to, if you're exiting along, you got it right. But for now, that's kind of the move I'm looking for. Good day yesterday. It just pretty much opened up, went straight up. It was just a nice controlled effort all the way up. So yeah, a bit of a surprise, to be honest. And look, we could get surprised on the downside considering the US was up last night. The Aussie market's kind of doing the opposite lately a few times. So just be wary that, don't just go diving and buying it, expecting to move up to 72.62, but just wait for it to prove itself. So I'll be waiting for that higher low. That's why I'll be trading that one. Looking at the US markets now, so they're all up across the board. You got the S&P was up just under 1%, 0.8. Dow was up 1.06. And the Nasdaq was up 1.2%. So generally, the market was lifted by the fangs, a few of the fangs. Tech stocks again were performing, which obviously lifted the S&P. And we said that before. A handful of stocks can lift 500 index, 500 stock index. So it's kind of good at the moment the way that it's moving, and it kind of makes it easy just to see what's the underlying drivers of the market. Still. This is the Nasdaq. It's still testing around this zone, 14.765 to 14.830. That's been resistance for a while. It's still in that area where it could, to me, it could go either way. This could be a nice high low. You could see that rejection to that zone, rejection again. It could easily drive up, and we'll be looking to 15.310 before long, even through. Okay, but the same token on the flip side, it could just easily go down. This would be a key lower high on the Nasdaq, and I would expect it to take out 13.885. Now, for me, it's got to do with rate rises, inflation, and inflation is still ticking along nicely. There's a lot of saying that it's not going to ease like the Fed expected, so they're expecting more rate rises. Potentially, it was started off with 1 or 2 rate rises. Now, the markets are looking at 4 rate rises in the US, and the bonds actually headed south last night, and we found some strength into the US dollar. So bonds, if they're heading down, that means yields are popping up. So they're still expecting, maybe a bit more pressure on inflation. Let's go over to the big S&P. Now that looks a bit more conducive to a move up to me than the tech index. But if you look at that on a longer term time frame, again, it's kind of in a zone where you probably can't see it across from here. You've got this area through here. Just mark it up, that sort of zone through there where it's just teetering on a daily basis. So we've had this big sell-off, found a bit of a base, popped up. This could be a lower high for a move down, and that's going to really drive through 44.80, or that's going to hold up and we're going to extend on the move up. Okay, and if we extend on the move up, you're kind of looking for a pop-up like that, a bit of extension, maybe into these highs or up into this zone up here as well. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. I would like to say I'm not biased down, but I kind of am at the moment. I think once we start raising rates, it's going to cap a lot of these gains. And don't forget, the market doesn't trade what happens. The market trades what it sees is going to happen. So it's looking well into the future. And these markets, especially in the US, have been well extended to the upside. Valuations are higher than really, really high. So I would expect a series of rate rises to take some heat out of this market. It's just at the moment it's not prepared to go down just yet. The Dow, blast off. We got through this 330 level, and I expect that to push up into 35,650. But more intraday coming into the US session tonight. Okay, where it could easily find some selling pressure, get a major double top, and we start to head south again. Okay, but you can see that a measured move up from this base into here. It can take us up to that 35,650 quite easily. All right, we look up the Ftse, which is the UK 100. Right, so we've still been capped into this resistance zone. Okay, it's probably a bit broader than that. It's traded near previously, failed off that level miserably, come all the way back, failed again up here, um, built a higher low, and we've just failed off there again. But it's still, we're holding these higher lows in here. You've got here, here, there's a ton of these higher lows which are holding the bigger zone up here. It's still into that area, so don't expect it just because we're up there that it's going to fail. It could blast off and through. Okay, so I'll be watching that one. They've just raised interest rates. Potentially they could start to get capped again into that zone if the theories are right. Interest rate rising cycle should cap the markets, especially when they've been quite good. But the Ftse hasn't been quite as good as, say, the US markets. And the same with the DAX. The DAX has kind of underperformed compared to the US. All right, so we've got, that was the UK. The DAX index, the German DAX. Now, it's not a 5-minute chart, let's get rid of that. So we're on the 30-minute charts, by the way. That big sell-off there, it's bounced up here. We've had another press down. Now, this move up it doesn't lead you to believe that the market's excited, okay? And the European markets are talking about, that surprise interest rate potentially this year, as opposed to what they said. So the ECB did a bit of a backflip, talking up 2024 for rate rises. Now they're talking up potentially this year. So it's caught the market a bit by surprise. Maybe that's what that sell-off, I think, was for. But anyway, you've got a higher low holding at 15,160 is a good zone at 15,100, and then down to around that 1,500 mark, 15,000 mark, okay? It's been holding. So it is holding higher levels, but it's not doing it with conviction. It is selling up. The buyers are soaking up that selling pressure, but it's not taking off like you would have expected. A big smash into that level, you'd expect it to ramp back up if it was a positive market. So I'll just be wary of that Ftse there without getting long too hard. And look, it could extend up to 15,350. I think they missed a lot of that US move. They closed at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. The DAX closes. The US kicked on after that. That's Sydney time, and to see if they can continue. But like I said, that action here is not looking too conducive of a really big ramp higher. Could be wrong, but I'll just be wary of that. This is the Asian market, so the Hang Seng. Now, this was the close overnight. If you go and measure that, the index close around at 7 p.m. mark. It was up 400, nearly 450 points. Okay, so if you're trading this today, be skeptical that the index is gonna gap up quite significantly. Okay, so don't jump in too excitable and get long on the CFD or the futures. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, and you're up into a zone at 24,780. You've got a nice area you can see through here. It could flush and dump, but just be wary of that open. I'd give it a bit of time to see if you can pick a direction. But for now, I would expect. I know the underlying index is gonna gap up a lot, and for it to gap up 450 points, and gap and go is a tough ask. Okay, so yeah, it's into a resistance zone. We'll just see how that goes. See if they can drop off there. If we can get a short. All right. The Japan index will gap up as well, the underlying index, but not as much. Okay, gap up a few points. So this could easily gap up through 27,460. It could push up through there. You can see the bit of resistance through there, but it's holding higher levels all the way up. So they could easily break up through there. I'll be looking, either for a pop up and flush maybe, and then lower high to a bit of a squeeze down because everyone's looking for that to break. But we'll see. So you got some levels there, but that to me downtrend. Bounced, good bounce, taking out a few key levels, especially this level in here, 27,640. You can see that was that extension down. Then we took that out, building. It could easily just build a higher low, off this kind of a level. If that's the case, you could be looking at, if that's the, grab that there, and if you take that from about that low, it could easily take us up into, through this zone at 27,880 or thereabouts, even higher. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that one. Actually, on a different note, longer term, I'm not too bullish on the Nikkei. I think on the daily basis, it's looking fairly weak. Just get onto that. You've got double top up here. It's got through these lows. It is a big wide range. It's got these key lower highs holding up. I mean, this could easily, like I said, pop up here on a daily basis, then roll. Okay, I think it's all got to do with really what's going to happen in the US. The currencies, like I said, the US dollar popped up overnight. Let me just check. I'll just check on that 30-minute chart to make sure. Yep, it was a bit of a grind up. It wasn't anything too major. Bit of a grind up, which obviously led the Aussie could trickle higher. I think it's going to trade into that 71.57 we spoke about yesterday. holding a higher low in here, bit of a flush down. You can see this trend up, little minor higher lows, flush down and started holding again. So that could easily, I would expect, push to 71.57, even higher to 76. Okay, but we'll see what happens today. Euro, so with that US dollar strength, is sort of capping. So what this chart looks like is exactly the reverse of what the US dollar looks like, pretty much. It's got a powerful move down and a grind up. We've got a powerful move up and a grind down. So if that US dollar continues to grind up, then this is going to continue to grind down and we could get a short off that 14.16. But I don't feel this action on the way down is, I would be very tentative on the short side. I'd be probably more inclined that if that US dollar starts to roll over, we're going to get a bit of a break up and through. Okay, so it's taken out the lows, so we retested here, test here, took it out, bounced straight back up again. And we're just sort of holding these little minor higher lows in here. So just be wary of that. I mean, if it breaks down, you get a short on there, we could take this out by a few pips and then bounce straight back again, stop you out. Okay, if we start to accelerate to the upside, probably going to be a bit of a US dollar move down, more than likely. The pound is still holding up, 135.22. It's flushed through that level a couple of times. To me, it's a pretty good level. You've got a zone in there, sold off in there, touched up there, went sideways a bit there. So it's reacting off there, consolidated, it took off, and we're just testing back into it again. So we'll have to wait and see that. Look, like I said, rate rises should be a bit supportive of the US dollar. Now, if the of the pound, but if the US dollar rallies, you've sort of got these opposing effects. You might find some support into the pound itself, but the US dollar is also finding some buying. So it sort of leaves, in essence, if it's an even match, it leaves the pound US going sideways. Okay, but for now, it's still looking like we've drove into that level, held higher lows now, and we're starting to drive up. So, through that 35.56 could be a good little buying opportunity, and see if we can push up through 35.64 and so on, and see if that can get us to a move to 36.18. If not, then we could easily just roll over from here. US yen, we talked about this yesterday, holding that 115, or maybe the day before, holding that level 115.16, and it's powering up. It's up into that 115.66. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get a reaction from sellers up into this area. Okay, so that's what I'll be watching for now. Gold, held a higher low, 18.16, still going strong. Look, it's not, I don't love gold. I'm not looking at trading it, but it hasn't been an inflationary hedge like we always say. It is trickling higher, and that could be, suckering in some buyers. We could get up to this 18.30 and completely fail off that level. So that's ideally what I'm looking for. Bit of a failure off the 18.30. Now, if it's going to get through there, it's going to be a bit of a grind, I would expect, because of the lack of buying interest at the moment, or people who have bought it in the past and been chopped out quite easily. And don't forget that daily price action is lower highs as well. So it could be just coming into an area where I'll just show you that, where we could be getting to a lower high quite easily. All right. Get that? See what I mean there? So you got some lower highs. So it could easily just pop up, find some resistance, flush 18.30 and drop straight back down again. Okay, crude took a bit of a hit overnight. Lower highs, pressured it back down through that 90 area, 90 and a half, which is, so that 90, 92 area is a good daily resistance. So we flushed the daily resistance, a daily level anyway, and it's coming back down. So expecting that it's pushed into this zone through here, that it could start to find a bid. All right, that's what I'll be looking for. If we can start to find a bid, start to hold up off the MAs, and then work our way back into that 90 or back above 90, 90 and a half, 91. Copper, it started to, rolling over. That was that zone we were talking about for the last few sessions. Held up through here, 97.35 or thereabouts, and then the resistance around that 98, 90, say 99 area. Okay, it's held lower highs. It's held lower high. It flushed into that area. It's bounced back quite strong. So it'll be interesting to see if we do, start to look at this kind of thing and work our way back up, which would be great. I mean, if that's the case, we flushed these lows. We couldn't get up there this time. We flushed the lows and we bounced straight back, hold the higher low. I would expect to take out that 99 area. Ethereum and Bitcoin, just as some cryptos that two I really look at. Good little bounce. So that was just into the close of the US session. I'll be looking for that higher low. See if we can hold off these MAs and power up to 32.73 on Ethereum and Bitcoin. Same sort of thing. See if we can hold up at 43.30. Hold the high low is essentially what I'll be looking for. Maybe a press in, hold a high low, and see if we can get up a bit of a run up. Right, that's all I wanted to go through, guys. Hope that helps. Remember, if you like what you hear, be late. Great if you can leave us a like. This will be uploaded to YouTube, so jump on there, have a look around, So a lot of free information on there, and then just leave us a like for something that takes your fancy. All right, guys, enjoy, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.